My Singing Monsters has been around for a long time. 2026 will mark its 14th year of being around, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about what the game was like back in 2012. But first, thank you to my Cobra clan for spending $2 a month to let me drink soda while I edit. You guys are the best. It seems a shame to talk about 2012 with all these crazy flashy graphics and the big green screen. How about we take this down a notch? Now, let's go back to 2012, July 2012 to be more specific, when My Singing Monsters' official YouTube channel was created. And on July 31st, we got our first video, introducing the world to My Singing Monsters. This video is called My Singing Monsters Sneak Peek, and it has 2 million views. And I feel like this video does a great job of setting the tone for the year. It starts off on this quiet plant island with just one furcorn singing his song, and one by one the monsters just pop on and sing their own little tunes. And there you go, that's basically the whole video. And just a bit of fun trivia, the first comment on this video is from a user called ArcadeLife1, and he says, "This one looks quite bizarre. Let's hope a world-building game where the player collects and breeds cute monsters doesn't just translate to another in-app purchase overload where progress of any kind involves your credit card." And I mean, he was right. The game does have in-app purchases, but it is quite free-to-play friendly, so I don't know, that's a really interesting comment. And the initial comments are pretty positive overall. We have people saying that the game looks really cool and unique, and then pretty quickly, once the game comes out, it's just people asking about combos, which is pretty funny. Players who saw that trailer had to wait about a month after watching it to actually play the game, because the game was released around August 20th of 2012, and the game looked nothing like it does today. Let me walk you through everything that was in the game. You had 2 islands, Plant Island and Cold Island, all with only their common natural monsters. You had some decorations, you had likes, there was a feature where you could see a random person's island, but not your friend's islands. I don't have any footage online of people switching from Plant Island to Cold Island, probably because Cold Island was so expensive back in the day. But I believe you were able to swap by actually going into the shop and then clicking on the Islands button. There was a settings menu with a couple of settings. There was the breeding mechanic. There was the nursery. I mean, that's basically it, guys. There was barely anything in the game. There wasn't a map. Were there friends? Was friends even a feature? The music on the login screen was completely different. It was actually what the Coliseum sounds like today. And this same track is used in the shop instead of having the song still play in the background. Something interesting is that if you go into the market, there are 5 tabs. You've got the monsters, decorations, structures, islands, and currency, but the picture for the islands tab already included Air Island, even though Air Island hadn't released yet. Also, there was this really strange faded picture in the background of the market that I can't really put my finger on. It's super weird because it looks like Plant Island but phased into Cold Island, and then there's one of those statues that's like, and it's like pointing over there. I'm not sure. It's a really weird, strange background picture, and I'd love to see it without anything in front of it. The breeding structure wasn't even placed on the island until you reached level 7, and then you had to buy it for like 250 coins. The best footage from this version is from a channel called Touch Gameplay, who covered the game right after it released. They did this with a high-quality screen recording, so we could see everything super well. Something interesting is that when this guy opens the friends menu, there's no sign of a friend code, so I'm not even sure if those were added yet. The bed system and the likes system were in the game already. There were 5 levels of castle. These castles were the basic castle, modest castle, comfortable castle, spacious castle, and luxurious castle. That's as high as you could get. There was no extravagant or paradise castle yet, meaning that at most you could have 40 beds per island, which is not a lot. That's only like 10 ent brats. The like system has really been unchanged since the beginning of the game. Each monster has 3 likes and a mystery like, adding up to 4 likes, and the mystery like is never revealed in the game. You'd have to like look it up or place down decorations one by one, I guess. It sounds like a pain to find the secret likes, honestly. Actually, I wonder how they figured them out so quickly now. Is there somebody in the wiki who's actively getting the monsters really quickly and then testing them to see what their secret like is? Or are they finding this in the code? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. comments. But yeah, that's basically what the game was like in its first ever public version. It does mention that there were beta versions that beta testers had been trying before the game was fully released, and if you know anything about this, I would love to hear it. We basically know nothing about what those beta versions were like. The first ever My Singing Monsters video not posted by My Singing Monsters that featured actual gameplay was posted by this Touch Gameplay dude, and we would not know nearly as much about the game in its early stages if it wasn't for this dude, so huge shout out. Something funny that the official channel posted like 10 days before the game even released was this behind the scenes video. It now has 21 million views, and I mean, you can really see why. This video is hilarious. But here's the thing, I thought this video was so real when I first watched it, but it is absolutely not real. It's actually hilarious to see it now. It's this behind the scenes video, but one of the first scenes is Dave Carr in a green suit with puffballs on it, as if he's like guiding the animation for Fwog. Absolutely hilarious. You've got this chunky dude between like 3 microphones pretending to make 3D sounds for Maw. This is actually one of the animators of the game, and he's literally just lip syncing. It's just hilarious because they're pretending that that's what 3D sound means. Of course, we now know that that's like if you're wearing headphones and there's a Deej on this side and a Tweedle on this side, that you'll hear it that way. But it's not like that. It's just so funny. One of my favorite moments is whenever it's like soulful lyrics and then it's just like la 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 la. It's just so goofy. Something that I hadn't really thought about is that basically the only phones around were way smaller than the ones we have now. Here's my phone case that I'm using for the phone I'm recording with right now. And here's an iPhone 4, which is what kids would have played with at the time. Like, this is crazy. Anyways, that's pretty much it for August when it first released. Now in September, we got our first major update to the game. The game released as 1.0.0, and this major update was 1.0.2. Now there are some updates I'm skipping, like 1.0.1, which just had a few bug fixes. They really weren't worth mentioning, but I'll cover the major ones. This update introduced Air Island and 4 new natural monsters: Pom Pom, Scups, Cybop, and Riff. I'm sure it was super exciting for these players who were just playing with 2 islands and now they have a 3rd one. Like, I can't imagine how exciting that must have been. Besides that, there were a few quality of life updates, which, you know, I'm a huge fan of. Now, monsters grow when they are fed. Of course, we take this for granted, but this was not in the original version of the game. But now, monsters do get bigger when you feed them. But yeah, that's basically it for this update. And really, that's it for September, too. It was a pretty quiet month, other than the fact that we got a huge update. October, on the other hand, was like way crazier. To start off with, My Singing Monsters officially announced their first event, which is called Monster Orchestra. This was their first version of Play Your Part, and it was done with Plant Island. They released a sample video to show what your video should look like, and I just love this video. This video features the voice actor of Entbrat, Eric Desjardins. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. And he's just sitting in his room with his headphones on, making various monster sounds. When he gets to Entbrat, I mean, he absolutely destroys it. La, 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 la. But the rest of them are just really goofy. And that was the video that people would mimic to make their entries for basically Play Your Part. It's really cool that they were doing community events even at the beginning of the game. On October 10th, we got version 1.0.3, which is by far the biggest update so far. We got Water Island, another brand new island added to the game, as well as 2 new natural monsters, Reedling and Shellbead. They made it to where the game would look better on the iPhone 5, which had a different screen size to the iPhone 4. Remember, back then they had not built in that code to make the game adapt to different screens. They added the size slider for decorations. They added the feature where you could go into a monster's like menu, click on a decoration it likes, and just place it instantly as a shortcut, and just buy it from there. And finally, you can now see your friends' islands. Before, all we could do was see random islands, but now you could literally click on your friend and go and see their islands. It's crazy to think that features like this weren't even possible before this update. Fun fact, I've checked on YouTube, there is no footage of Water Island, Air Island, or Earth Island anywhere in 2012, even though they were all 3 released in 2012. If you have footage from 2012 of your Air, Water, or Earth Island, I would love to see it. Next up in October, we got our first seasonal event. Yes, seasonals were introduced in the first year of My Singing Monsters. On October 23rd, we got update 1.0.4, which added the Spooktacle event and Punkleton. It changed the way Plant Island looked temporarily, and I believe it added some costumes as well, although they don't work the same way they do nowadays. These costumes were just baked onto the monster. You couldn't take them off or anything like that, and they would only last for the duration of Spooktacle. I don't think that there were seasonal decorations yet. I could be wrong, but there was, of course, the new seasonal monster, Punkleton. This is the first seasonal monster and the first non-natural monster added to the game. At the time, this was the most difficult monster to get in the game, which is pretty crazy to think about. In fact, the first ever breeding tutorial video was for a Punkleton, and it was made by Wapachenska? I don't know. This dude still uploads today, but he doesn't make My Singing Monsters videos. Shout out to him for making the first ever breeding tutorial. I mean, this has become a staple in the community. There are lots of breeding tutorials now. There was another thing added in this update, which is referral codes. I'm assuming this means friend codes were added with this update, because there was no sign of them before this, although I have no evidence to prove this. And yeah, that's pretty much it for October. It's probably the biggest month since the game's release. For November, we have one update, but it is a very big update. This was pretty late in November, as My Singing Monsters 1.1.0 was released on the 27th. It introduced 2 new islands, Earth and Gold Island, as well as Chorister, the final natural monster for now. Of course, Earth Island deserves its time in the limelight. It's one of the most popular islands. It sounds really cool. Plus, I mean, it's just a whole new island, so hooray, excitement. But we gotta talk about Gold Island. This is the first non-natural island, and the first one to have a unique mechanic. Instead of breeding the monsters, you were able to use the ones you already had by just leveling them up to level 15. This seems like a simple process, but if I'm not wrong, this would have been extremely difficult back in the day. Because of the limited beds, because of less castle upgrades, coin farming would have been very difficult, and so getting treats would have been difficult because you got treats with coins. So to get a monster to level 15, let me look it up. Okay, so apparently it would have cost around 150,000 food to teleport a Mammoth to Gold Island, which is like 1.5 million coins. So yeah, needless to say, this would have been quite a grind, but it was worth it, honestly. All of the natural monsters came together into this beautiful song. I can only imagine how hyped up this island would have been. Along with these islands though, we did get another upgrade to the castle. This upgrade cost 20 diamonds and it gave another 20 beds, for a total of 60 per island. So yeah, that definitely would have made a difference, and it probably helped get those coins they needed to get their monsters on Gold Island. I'm not sure how I missed this, but in all the promotional material for 1.1.0, there's also the scratch ticket, so I think this was added here as well, even though it doesn't mention it on the wiki. The scratch ticket did not work like the one today. It actually gave away currencies instead of monster eggs, so it would have been one of the first ways to get currencies other than just the normal ways like monsters and diamond mines. So yeah, this is definitely something worth mentioning. Not sure how I missed it. Carry on. Also, it's worth mentioning that Season of Yay was technically added in this update, but it wasn't introduced until December. So since we're done with November, let's move on to December. On the 6th, Yule and Seasonal of Yay were released. This led to, of course, a second tutorial for Yule, and basically the only footage of Cold Island we have on YouTube. It is actually crazy how scarce footage is online of the other islands other than Plant Island. I'm telling you, if you have any footage, please bring it forward. I would love to see it. Season of Yay was the second seasonal event, and Yule was the second seasonal monster. So yeah, this was a really exciting time for the game. And speaking of an exciting time, on December 3rd, 2012, Monstorchestra Plant Island was released. And it's so fun to watch, honestly. All these little kids with their headphones making the monster sounds. It's so cool. But it wasn't just kids. You had full-grown adults playing. There was this band that released an entry that just looks crazy, like this dark, creepy music video. It's amazing to see that My Singing Monsters already had a loving community in 2012. I wanted to talk about the in-game economy for a minute in 2012. Nowadays, you can get millions of coins a day and like 30 to 50 diamonds a day as well. But back then, it would not have been as easy. It is worth mentioning that there was a different mine back in the day. Instead of just the mini mine, there was the mine, and it worked like a maximum mine, except you could put it on any island. These were handy, except at the peak of 2012, there were only 5 islands that could have this. So if each of these mines could produce 4 diamonds a day maximum, and there were 5 islands that had it, that's a maximum of 20 diamonds a day. There were no wubblins, no special strategies, there were referral codes, but honestly, other than that, there was no good way of getting diamonds. Coin production would have been pretty capped too, because there were only 40 beds. If you wanted to maximize, you would just get all quads, and you could only level them to level 15. At the end of the year, of course, they added the upgrade. So at the end of the year, you could have 15 quads per island, all leveled up to level 15, and that is how you could max out your game. I'm gonna look this up actually. If you were collecting from every every single monster the moment it maximized, and you had all of them at maximum happiness, all quads, all maximum castles, so you could have 15 quads per island, you could get about 30 million coins a day, which is nothing compared to the farms you can do nowadays. That does mean that Gold Island was fairly doable, but still, like, that's maxed out everything, and that would take time, especially with no diamonds to speed things up. But yeah, honestly, what a cool time to play My Singing Monsters in. I hope you enjoyed taking a look back at 2012 with me. If you want to see these for the rest of the years, subscribe. I'm planning on doing one of these for each year of My Singing Monsters. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks again to the Cobra Clan for letting me drink soda while I edit, and I will see you guys in another video. Happy monstering!